ever look back on your life and realize half of your best memories could have gotten you suspended? Yeah, me too. Welcome back to the pit, my fellow delinquents. This is Tazerface, where nostalgia gets punched in the jaw and video games get sent straight to detention. Around here, we don't just remember the past, we interrogate it, shake it by the collar, and ask why the hell it still feels so damn good. And today, we're cracking open one of Rockstar's strangest creations. No bank robberies, no carjackings, just pure, unfiltered teenage anarchy. This was the game that dared you to turn high school into an open world battlefield, where the nerds wage war, the preps rule with money, and the jocks treat gym class like a holy crusade. You know the one I'm talking about. The misunderstood, misjudged, beautifully broken stepchild of Rockstar's golden era. So, grab your slingshot, lace up your beat to hell sneakers, and for the next 20 minutes, forget adulthood because we're going back to Bullworth Academy. There are games that define a console generation. Your Grand Theft Autos, your God of Wars, your Uncharted's, and then there's the one weird cousin of the family that nobody quite knows how to label. The game that showed up to the reunion wearing a school uniform and carrying a slingshot. Talking about overthrowing social order. That game was Bully. The rebellious, sarcastic, hilarious side project from Rockstar that somehow managed to turn the worst years of everyone's life, high school, into one of the most oddly comforting sandbox experiences of all time. Now, we all know Rockstar, the masters of chaos, the kings of controversy, the studio that practically built an empire out of bad behavior. But when they dropped Bully, they didn't just stir the pot, they dumped the entire cafeteria tray right into it. This wasn't about carjackings or mob shootouts. This was about surviving the trenches of teenage society. Cliches, pranks, heartbreak, detention. It was the GTA of growing up, and for those of us who played it on the PS2 back in the day, then revisited on PS3, it was like stepping back into a time capsule of pure mischief. Except now with the slightly smoother graphics and a little more realization of how completely insane that school actually was. Let's not sugarcoat it. Bully was ridiculous. You play as Jimmy Hopkins, the ultimate troubled kid, 15 years old, expelled from every school he's ever been to, now dumped at Bullworth Academy, a place that looks like a prep school and is more like a juvenile correctional facility disguised as an education center. The teachers are corrupt, the students are violent, and every authority figure is either lazy, blind, or actively evil. It's not a school, it's a social experiment, and how far one teenager can be pushed before declaring open war on puberty itself. But here's the thing. Beneath all the wedgies, stink bombs, and fire alarms, Bully had heart. That's the weirdest thing. Rockstar, the same people who made Manhunt, a little snuff film simulator, somehow delivered one of the most honest portrayals of youth rebellion ever coded into silica. Jimmy's not just a delinquent. He's a kid trying to survive a system that gave up on him before he even had a chance. And when you're 15, misunderstood, and full of hormones and rage, overthrowing a private school hierarchy feels like revolution. Bully Scholarship Edition brings it all back with sharper visuals, cleaner textures, and some added content. That, let's be real, feels like Rockstar just remembered a few missions they left in the notebook. It's the same chaos, just polished up for a slightly less dusty area. But even with the upgrades, that PS2 DNA is still there. It's clunky, janky, occasionally buggy, but charming as hell. It's like replaying your teenage years, awkward, messy, but unforgettable. Revisiting this game now, years later, it hits differently. Back then, we were closer to Jimmy's age, the world felt unfair, teachers were villains, and the cafeteria really did feel like a battlefield. Playing it as an adult, you start to realize how much of Bullworth's insanity mirrors the real world. The hierarchy doesn't end with you when you graduate. It just gets rebranded into office politics. The bullies trade in fists for passive-aggressive emails. The preps become executives. The nerds run tech startups. The greasers become mechanics. Jocks become gym bros, posting motivational quotes they don't understand. And Jimmy becomes all of us, stuck in the middle, trying to keep our soul intact while the system chews everyone up. And that's where Bully still hits hard. The satire is timeless. Rockstar made this game as a joke about school life, but in hindsight, it's one of their smartest pieces of social commentary. It's about power, class, hypocrisy, all the things we deal with as adults, just wrapped up in teenage chaos. Somehow, it still feels fun as hell to egg people's houses. Let's talk gameplay though. On PS3, it's that perfect mix of Rockstar chaos and classic PS2 era freedom. You can hop on your bike, ride across the countryside, throw marbles under jocks' feet, sneak into the girls' dorms, and sprint away from her prefects like your life depends on it. It's not huge by modern standards, but it still feels alive. Every corner of Bullworth has character, from the grimy bathrooms with graffiti to the autumn leaves falling around the schoolyard. It's a small-scale GTA with heart. Combat, it's janky, gloriously so. You've got your punches, your grapples, your slingshots, and of course, your endless collections of improvised weapons. Stink bombs, itching powder, firecrackers, marbles. It's like MacGyver joined Jackass. But what makes it so memorable isn't the mechanics, it's the context. Every fight has a reason. Every prank feels personal. You're not some faceless criminal. You're a kid trying to survive in a zoo full of egos, and that makes it weirdly relatable. Then there's the classes. Oh, the classes. Whoever thought minigame schoolwork would be fun clearly never met my attention span. But somehow Rockstar pulled it off. Chemistry becomes a rhythm game of button presses. English is a word scramble that makes you feel like Shakespeare, if you can spell mole in art. Art class, literally quick time events disguised as doodling. Gym, button mashing, but somehow it all works in this bizarre mix of parody and engagement that keeps you hooked. You don't want to skip class because weirdly, it's fun to attend. Replaying it now, you see how much attention Rockstar put into the little things. The changing seasons, the decorations during Halloween and Christmas, the way the world feels alive even when you're doing nothing. Bullworth breathes. You walk through snowflakes after a snowball fight, hear kids gossiping about their last stunt, and realize they made a real world here. It's small, but it's detailed. It's what Rockstar used to do best. Make a world feel like it exists without you. Jimmy himself is such a great protagonist, not in the sense of being likable, but in the sense of being real. He's a punk with a moral compass. He'll stand up to the bullies, help the nerds, and then immediately steal a bike and ram into a cop. He's chaotic good. He's that part of all of us that wanted to punch the system in the face but didn't have the guts to do it. Rockstar gave us that chance in digital form. And then there's Gary Smith, the manipulative little sociopath that might be one of Rockstar's most underrated villains. He's not a mob boss, not a gang leader, just a kid who wants to watch the world burn because he's bored. And honestly, that's scarier than any crime lord. Gary's manipulation of Jimmy, the slow burn of betrayal, is surprisingly deep for a game that also lets you throw stink bombs at bullies. He's the Joker of Bullworth, and watching him unravel is pure chaotic poetry. Of course, replaying Bully on PS3 in 2025, let's just say it's a nostalgic trip with a few potholes. The frame rate stumbles, the animations show their age, and the camera sometimes acts like it's drunk on energy drinks. But weirdly, that's part of the charm. It's like finding an old photo album. The imperfections make it feel real. We don't love Bully because it's perfect. We love it because it's raw. It's unpolished. It's that teenage energy bottled up into code. Rebellious, awkward, and full of attitude. There's something special about how the game captures the feeling of rebellion without crossing the line into full criminal insanity. It's chaos within the rules. Mischief, not murder. In a time when Rockstar was constantly under fire for violence and controversy, Bully proved they could be clever instead of just shocking. They took all the misbehavior, wrapped it up in humor, and turned it into a commentary. That's art disguised as troublemaking. Even the soundtrack sells that feeling. Those twangy guitar riffs, those mischievous little beats, it's like the music itself is smirking at you. It's playful, sneaky, full of personality, and makes even a simple walk through campus feel cinematic. There's this perfect blend of tension and nostalgia, and when that theme kicks in, you instantly know where you are. Bullworth Academy, the school where chaos graduates with honors. Replaying it today, there's also this weird emotional layer. Back in the day, Bully was power fantasy. The kid gets to fight back. But now, older, it hits like a metaphor. You see the teachers manipulating students, the system failing kids, the cycle repeating itself. It's not just rebellion, it's resistance. Jimmy's story isn't about being bad, it's about letting other people define who you are, and that's timeless. When you play it as an adult, you realize that's what made Bully special. It wasn't the pranks or the fights, it was the empathy hidden underneath. Jimmy's not a hero, but he's not the villain. They paint him to be either. He's just trying to survive, like we all did. That's what gives the game its soul. And man, the humor, the writing in class, Rockstar, sharp, absurd, and weirdly sophisticated for a game about throwing marbles. You've got nerds quoting Dungeons and Dragons like gospel, preps talking like failed Shakespeare actors, and jocks so dumb you can hear the protein powder rattling in their skulls. Every line feels like it was written by someone who hated high school, just enough to make it funny. There's a reason Bully still gets brought up every time Rockstar fans talk about wanting remakes or sequels. It's not because of the graphics or the combat. It's because the concept was lightning in a bottle. GTA meets high school, but with heart. Nobody else has done it since. At least not this well. It's one of those games that stands alone, and when you replay it now, you can't help but wonder why we never got a Bully 2. Maybe Rockstar got too big. Maybe schoolyard satire doesn't sell as much as $1 Billion Heist. Or maybe, and I really believe this, Bully was too real, too human. It wasn't about spectacle. It was about frustration, about growing up, about realizing the world's unfair and choosing to fight back anyway. And that's why even on the PS3, it still hits. It might not have the scope of GTA 5 or the polish of Red Dead 2, but it's something more important. Identity. It knows exactly what it wants to be, and in a sea of modern games trying to be everything it wants, Bully's focus feels refreshing. It's a game that says, yeah, I'm small, but I've got something to say. And speaking of small things with big voices, let's take a quick breather and talk about something that actually does belong in this world of rebellion and self-expression. Because if Jimmy Hopkins had a few extra bucks and access to a tattoo gun, you know damn well where he'd be headed. That's right, shoutout time. If you're anywhere near Ohio and you've got the itch to stand out, to mark your story, to wear your rebellion on your skin instead of sneaking it under your school blazer, then you need to check out the Inkatorium in Bellaire, Ohio, and Top Gun Tattoos in Martins Ferry, Ohio. These aren't your average ink shops. These are the kind of places where artistry meets attitude, where every piece tells a story, not just decorates your arm. You want quality line work that makes people stare? They've got you. You want color saturation that punches harder than a slingshot to the face? It's done. You want detail so clean it makes your skin look 4K? They live for that. These artists are the real deal. Steady hands, creative minds, and zero tolerance for boring tattoos. So, if you've been thinking about getting new ink that actually means something to you, the kind that says, I've been through it, but I came out sharper, go hit them up and tell them Tazerface sent you. And don't forget to tip, because this kind of art deserves respect. Now, back to Bullworth Academy, where the ink's invisible, but the scars last forever. Now let's talk about legacy, because Bully's legacy is one of the strangest in gaming. This game should have started a whole generation. Teen Rebellion, Sims, high school open worlds, it was right there. Rockstar had the blueprint, and yet they walked away from it like it was some strange fever dream they didn't want to admit to. Maybe because the controversy scared them. Remember, when Bully first dropped, people lost their minds. Politicians called it a Columbine simulator. Parents thought it was going to turn their kids into delinquents. And all the while, Rockstar sat back smirking, knowing the truth, it was satire. It wasn't about glorifying violence, it was about mocking it. But that nuance was lost on the crowd. So instead of doubling down, Rockstar pivoted. They went back to criminals and cowboys, to worlds where chaos was easier to justify. But man, imagine what Bully 2 could have been. Imagine a college setting, moral choices, social consequences. Rockstar could have built a masterpiece of identity and rebellion. Instead, we got radio silence. And in that silence, Bully became a myth. Replaying it now on PS3, you can feel that myth in every frame. It's not just nostalgia, it's unfinished business. The way the game ends, the way Jimmy's story wraps up, it feels like a chapter 1 of something bigger. like the spark of a revolution that never caught fire. And maybe that's why people kept coming back to it. It's not just that Bully was, it's what it could have been. Now, let's be honest. Playing it today, you'll notice things that aged like milk left on the radiator. The camera has a mind of its own.
Come on, show me what you got, stick boy. I hope the police got my application. Why are you not in class? Classes are starting. Stop so I can beat you.
Ah, hello, class. The curriculum demands that you do these vocabulary assignments. Why do you finish them here in class? That way you'll have more free time. I don't think that's in the dictionary. Good show. That has to be some sort of slang, yes? That's right! Keep it up! Try again, James. Well done! Good one. Well done.
And the side characters feel alive. You remember Petey's timid loyalty, Russell's brute simplicity, Ernest's nerd crusade, Lola's manipulative charm. They weren't deep by today's standards, but they were memorable. They had voices, quirks, personalities, in a world full of throwaway NPCs. Bullworth students stuck with you.
That has
They're
to be
characters,
some sort of slang,
sure,
yes?
but honest ones. And let's not forget the humor. Rockstar's writing in Bully is
Try
surgical.
again, James.
It hits hard because it's true. The way adults talk down to you, the fake authority, the hypocrisy of moral institutions, it's satire sharper than most modern games dare to touch. You can tell the writers had feelings about school, like deep-seated drama kind of feelings, and they turned that into comedy gold. You've got the principal, Dr. Crabblesnitch, trying to act like a moral guardian while his staff is a circus of dysfunction. You've got teachers who hate their jobs, gym coaches who live in the past, and authority figures who punish rebellion while rewarding conformity. Sound familiar? Yeah. Because Bully nailed the system decades before social media started ranting about it. Even now, in 2025, it feels relevant. The themes of bullying, corruption, favoritism, classism, they all still apply. It's a mirror held up to society, wrapped in a fart, jokes, and chaos. And somehow it works.
Well
That's
done.
Rockstar's
I
magic,
wonder how you do
mixing
it.
satire with stupidity and still making it hit like truth. By the time the credits roll, you're not just done with the game. You've lived through a semester of revolution. You've taken on the clicks, challenged the authority, exposed the fakes, and walked out on your own terms. You faced adolescence and somehow passed without detention. It's one of those endings that makes you smile because even though Jimmy's world is exaggerated, his victory feels personal. So how does Bully hold up on PS3 and PS5 today? Surprisingly well. Not graphically, this isn't The Last of Us, but emotionally the humor still lands, the story still resonates, and the gameplay, even with its quirks, still make you grin. It's aged like an old comic book. Faded, yes, but still powerful in all the right ways. It's the kind of game you forgive because it gave you something real. Playing Bully again reminds you of why you fell in love with gaming in the first place. It's not about realism, it's not about photo modes or DLC bundles, it's about connection, about story, about stepping into a world that lets you laugh, fight, feel something. That's what Bully does. It lets you relive rebellion safely, without losing your soul in the process. And honestly, we need more of that. The world today is full of rules, outrage, algorithms, and censorship. Everything's filtered, curated, polished, but Bully is raw. It's real. It's messy in a way that feels human. It's not afraid to offend because it trusts you to get the joke. That's something we've all lost along the way. So yeah, Bully might not look next gen. It might not handle like a dream, but it's got spirit. That untamable spark that reminds you what rebellion used to mean. Not destruction, but defiance. Not hate, but honesty. Jimmy Hopkins wasn't a villain. He was a truth teller with a bad aim. And in a world where conformity is the default, that makes him a damn hero. And maybe that's why every time I boot this game up, it still feels like home. Bullworth might be a nightmare, but it's our nightmare. A playground of chaos where every insult, every fight, every prank reminds you that life's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be interesting. And Bully, that's interesting done right. So here's my verdict. Bully might not be perfect, but it's immortal. It's the kid who never grew up. And thank God for that, because in a sea of sterile sequels and corporate clones, it's still got that punk rock heartbeat. You can feel it in every line of dialogue, every punch thrown, every bike ride across campus. It's freedom, it's rebellion, it's art, wrapped in acne and bad haircuts. And as the screen fades, as the credits roll, I can't help but think maybe Jimmy won. Not because he beat Gary, not because he ruled the school, but because he made us remember what it felt like to fight back. To not just survive, but to matter. That's the power of Bully. A game about a kid who refused to be silenced. A story about standing up even when the odds are ridiculous. A reminder that sometimes the smallest rebellions make the loudest noises. So, if you got your old PS3 or PS5 sitting around, dust it off, fire this thing up, go back to Bullworth, cause trouble, break rules, laugh like you used to. And when you hear that soundtrack kick in, that mischievous melody that says, "Welcome back, troublemaker," just remember, growing up is optional, but rebellion, that's forever. This has been Tazerface, y'all. You're watching the chaos, the nostalgia, the rebellion, unfiltered and unapologetic. Until next time, stay loud, stay wild, and for the love of chaos, stay true to who you are. Class dismissed. Permanently.
So much stuff just lying around.